And we also have at the very end of our list, we've been able to quite late notice, and so I'm super grateful, that a modality from the Your Technologies company, particularly to come and share a little bit of his experience. And I think we have. And I see that Mr. Heine has joined. Mr. Heine, thank you so much for joining us today and for sparing a little time for this. I'm really excited about the opportunity to hear all of the interesting news on government Gujarat and what it's doing.
Good evening. I'm equally excited and I'm really honored to find myself amongst all of you on this great occasion. And I look forward to interacting with all of you.
Thank you, sir. That's good time. Are we ready to start, everyone? I think it's coming up to the time. Shall we make a start? I think we've got guests joining and they'll probably join us as we continue. So let me obviously welcome everyone formally to this web conference. The World Environment Day is a very important day in the calendar. The British High Commission, the British government network across the world, launched this particular day in as many ways as it can to try and raise awareness and attention and action on the need to help protect our environment and to promote a better response to climate change. So we're really pleased to be able to do this today. We have a very distinguished panel with us of guests. Mr. Haida, who is the Principal Secretary from the Climate Change Department in the Government of Gujarat, and we're very pleased that you've been able to join us. It's a privilege to have the Government of Gujarat involved with us, bringing attention on this issue today. Natalie Bond, who is our Economic Councillor in the British High Commission in New Delhi, and leads a lot of the work for the British government across India on this topic. Professor Mishra from IIT Gandhinagar, who again has expertise in climate change issues and climate change policies. We're very pleased that you will be able to talk to us today. Mr. Anuj Malhotra from the Centre for Green Mobility, a close partner who we work with very much in so many ways, but on this particular subject matter of great relevance. So I'm really pleased he's with us. Mr. Shiraj Gadgar from amongst many other things, the Green Alliance, but also from, I'm reading the Subnational Climate Action Climate Program of the World Resources Institute. And so again, I'm a person with specific expertise that may be really helpful to add insights and value to our conversation. And finally, Mr. Anwar Dalvi from Your Technologies to join us at the very end and share his insights, particularly from a business perspective, and how to try and accomplish that real change. I know there's a lot of expertise, for example, in the water, in the subject matter of water, which Your has got particular insights and value to offer. So that's our panel today. We'd like to take some questions at the very end of that. We'll try and give each of our speakers an opportunity to share their insights, share their thoughts. If I may just lead off a little bit, and I'm not stealing thunder from Natalie's presentation, and that will happen a little later. But today's conference is particularly important from the UK perspective, as the co-host of the next conference of parties of the UN conference, COP26. It was supposed to take place this year in December. Obviously, with the situation, the decision was taken to postpone that, and it's now going to happen next year in November. From the 1st to the 12th of November, the UK will host the global conference on climate change. It will be in Glasgow, in the UK, and we are looking forward to a quite an extensive program of what's building up to that particular event, and obviously hope that it will make a real difference and some progress on the challenge we all face. And we will do our very best to try and facilitate that process effectively so that we can really see the difference coming through more powerfully, more profoundly in the future. I think we do recognize that the time is upon us, so we have to make that kind of commitment. But I think the most significant message that I wanted to share was was how important it is to recognize that no one country can solve this issue. It has to be through partnership. It has to be through a global coalition of the willing to try and make that commitment, to try and make that difference. And there are a number more important in the UK perspective and the UK and India partnership. And I know there's been a lot of work over the last few years to identify ways in which we can collaborate together. And that must continue. We must continue to find ways in which we can come together, align our interests, align our particular thinking, so that we can make the difference for society into the future. I think the partnership that we enjoy with India is strong, but there is always scope for us to do more. And in particular, the strength of the relationship with Gujarat is an area where I particularly want to identify ways in which we can work more closely with the government of Gujarat, with the civil society partners in Gujarat, with NGO communities, with anyone who shares the commitment, who shares the same desire. And one of the aspects that we will take forward in the next year is identifying those projects, identifying the ways in which we can support and collaborate together so we can really make a difference. And I would love to think that there are some exciting ways we can demonstrate leadership, demonstrate a real advantage in technology that's making a difference on that climate change agenda. That would be something I was particularly keen to start the conversation today in the hope that we can build on that and identify those particular opportunities. So that is very much my own personal ambition for today. There are many other good examples of that. I'm sure we all touch on some of those previous projects and previous experiences and try and learn those lessons at the same time. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for all the audience that are listening in. Kindly to spare the time. We hope this will all add to people's knowledge and people's passion and commitment on the subject matter. And with that, I would like to pass across to our first speaker, Mr. Haider, Mr. S.A. Haider, who is the Principal Secretary for the Government of Gujarat in the Climate Change Department. I'm really pleased he's been able to join and will be able to share with us what he's thinking and what the Government of Gujarat is doing in this area. Sir, can I pass over to you?
Thank you. Distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen, greetings to one and all. At the outset, I congratulate Mr. Peter Cook, British Deputy High Commissioner to the states of Gujarat and Rajasthan, for organizing this virtual roundtable meeting on the occasion of the World Environment Day. I am glad to learn that domain experts and esteemed participants in good numbers have taken time off to join these all-important deliberations. As all of us know, the theme of this year's World Environment Day 2020 is biodiversity conservation. Climate change and conservation of biodiversity are quintessential contemporary concerns to which all of us subscribe in a fair measure. Recent events of coronavirus pandemic, Cyclone Umphan in the Bay of Bengal, and Cyclone Nisarg in Arabian Sea, forest fires in Australia, locust infestations across East Africa and West Asia, etc., are sending messages loud and clear regarding the interdependence of humans and the web of life in which we exist. The present COVID-19 pandemic has made all of us sit up and think comprehensively towards sustainable development, necessitating perhaps a paradigm shift. Acknowledging the due importance of global climate concerns, Gujarat established an independent Department for Climate Change under the visionary leadership of the then Honorable Chief Minister and presently Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. Last year, our department completed 10 years of its establishment. The state government at the highest level of administration is committed to building a sustainable and climate-resilient future and enabling a low-carbon pathway for Gujarat's economic growth that would meet people's aspirations with equity and inclusiveness. Our department is working under the direct guidance of Honorable Chief Minister Sri Vijay Rupani. All of us know India has communicated the nationally determined contributions to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change under the Paris Agreement. One of our NDCs is to reduce our carbon emissions per unit of GDP by 33 to 35% from 2005 levels by 2030. In another NDC, we are aiming to produce 40% of electricity from non-fossil fuels by 2030. It is important to note that our country and the states have suitably aligned their climate commitments with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. The goals are at once a universal agreement to craft an equal, just and secure world for people and the planet by 2030. Considering the impacts of global warming and climate change on our economy and our society, the states have formulated a slew of policies and programs that have the potential to counter the challenges of climate change while ensuring achievement of resilient sustainable development objectives. Gujarat has formulated the State Action Plan on Climate Change comprising 9 thematic areas, namely agriculture, water resources, health, forest and biodiversity, sea level rise and coastal infrastructure, energy efficiency and renewable energy, urban development, vulnerable communities, and green jobs. Now it is being revisited further with further targets and objectives set under the nationally determined contributions of India. Now let us talk about some of our trust areas where we have made some significant progress, and we would be building upon that in the days, months and years to come. When we talk about renewable energy, Gujarat happens to be one of the leading states in renewable energy sector and has announced various policies like wind policy, solar policy, small hydro policy, uh, biomass policy, waste to energy policy to promote the use of renewable energy. As a result, some 7,504 megawatt of wind energy projects, 2,958 megawatt of solar energy projects comprising 532 megawatt of rooftop and 2,426 megawatt of ground mountain have been commissioned till March 2020. Total renewable energy installed in Gujarat, including wind, solar, biomass, and mini hydro, has surpassed capacity of 10,600 megawatts. We have also gone in for a consolidated climate change budget. For the last 4 years, we have been presenting Green Budget of Gujarat by updating the activities of various line departments related to climate change adaptation and mitigation. A provision of close to 6,000 crores is made under climate change scheme has been made by some 18 other departments of the state government in the budget of the current financial year. When we talk about electric vehicles, the government provides subsidy for the purchase of battery-operated two-wheelers to schools and college-going students. These initiatives reduce use of petrol and lower air pollution. Some 8,000 students have taken benefit of this scheme so far. Gujarat is also providing subsidy of rupees 40,000 per vehicle for electric three-wheelers. Further, we are planning to support statewide charging infrastructure development to promote further use of electric vehicles in Gujarat. Energy efficiency. Improved crematoria are being installed in crematoria operated by village panchayat, taluka panchayat, these are panchayati raj institutions, and urban local bodies. This improved version of crematoria reduces the use of wood and contributes to the environment. Every year, some 40,000 LED tube lights and 25,000 energy efficient fans are being installed in the government schools by the climate change department. This, however, is only a tip of the iceberg, and if you look at the entire range of activities which are being undertaken by the state government, it will be really astounding. Audit of pumping stations is being carried out, inefficient pump sets are being replaced with new ones. Gujarat has also developed a framework of climate change funds of the state to support smaller size of climate change adaptation and mitigation projects at the grassroots level. Under the National Adaptation Fund, the Government of India has sanctioned a project of adaptation for natural resource dependent communities in 5 districts, which focuses on enhancing resilience through water and livelihood security and ecosystem restoration. This project involves 15 different activities aimed at ensuring water security, livelihood security, and ecosystem restoration. Uh, then we have the National Mission for Strategic Knowledge and Climate Change. This is the project of the Government of India and it's part of the National Action Plan on Climate Change. In Gujarat, we are working on climate risk assessment of 7 key and priority sectors of the state in alignment with the State Action Plan on Climate Change. These Foundation and IIT Gandhinagar are helping us in executing this project. Covenant of Mayors of Gujarat. Based on the joint statement on clean energy and climate change made by the Government of India and European Union, 8 cities of Gujarat, namely Ahmedabad, Surat, Vadodara, Rajkot, Ahmedabad, Jamnagar, Junagadh, and Gandhinagar, have signed an MOU with the European Union and International Urban Cooperation and formed Covenant of Mayors of Gujarat for climate and energy in line with the Global Covenant of Mayors for developing city action on climate change. One could go on, but looking to the constraints of time, I would like to wind up at this stage. But we are very happy to note that the UK, the next UN Climate Change Conference, COP26 host, and as you have just mentioned, perhaps it would be November next year. We would be looking forward to, and we would suitably be exploring opportunities to strengthen our common commitment to the objectives and goals we are commonly pursuing. I am, last but not the least, I am beholden to the British Deputy High Commission for having afforded me an opportunity to address this virtual roundtable meeting. I thank you all for allowing me to share my thoughts and views. Thank you once again.
Mr. Hyder, thank you very much for that very impressive presentation. You have outlined, I think, a great deal of work which your department has been promoting and leading across Gujarat through the State Action Plan and in line with both the National Action Plan and, as you mentioned, the Sustainable Development Goals, which I think are particularly describing how local action at the community level needs to align so carefully with higher goals both at the state, at the national, and the international level in order to make the differences in improving our climate and improving the environment that we all have to live within. So thank you very much for that very comprehensive picture of the kind of work that the government of Gujarat is doing. A number of really interesting areas, the 9 points in the action plan, 9 target areas, and the work on electric vehicles, particularly of interest, I think. It is a subject which I know is exciting many governments around the world, how we can make this transition. The UK is similarly looking at how it manages that particular challenge and trying to make announcements, trying to make policy that illustrate the switch from the carbon economy that we have been used to the non-carbon renewable economy, green economy that we're going to need in the future. And I think for each individual, we need to make choices that mirror that particular challenge. And in the vehicles we buy, in the behaviors that we undertake in our own homes, in our own families, in our own communities. I think we need to be aware of the challenge that we all face. So thank you very much for highlighting those issues. A number of them really striking. I'm particularly impressed by the range and the depth of work that the good government of Gujarat is doing. Thank you. Let me, if I may move on to our next speaker. Natalie Pond is the Economic Councillor at our High Commission in New Delhi. She is the leading light in the British government efforts across India to promote stronger collaboration with India in so many respects, not just in Gujarat, in all the states of India, but particularly pleased that she's been able to join us today and share a little bit of what's happening with the wider network and also some of the wider ambitions that the UK government is looking to try and establish in partnership with many countries, not just India. See how we can work. Natalie, can I pass over to you? Thank you. I'm not hearing you, Natalie. Is everyone else hearing you? Pardon me.
Probably unmute the mic.
Is it an unmute, Natalie? Forgive me, I can't hear. Can't hear you. Working now? Beg your pardon. I muted as well. I do apologize. I wasn't able to hear Natalie, so forgive me. I'm going to ask Masoom if he can. Masoom is our technical expert. If he might be able to help facilitate a solution that we can get Natalie back online. If that will be possible, that would be really helpful. But let us not delay. Let us move on to our next speaker, please. Professor Bimal Mishra from IIT Gandhinagar from the Climate and Water Department. It was mentioned in Mr. Hyman's presentation that there's been quite a lot of work involving IIT Gandhinagar in so many ways, particularly I noted with the GEO Foundation on the climate risk assessment. I'm not going to try and prejudge what he's going to say, but I'm definitely very interested in that aspect. And I welcome hearing all of the things that IIT Gandhinagar have been doing, and particularly use an insight on what we should be targeting in the future. That would be particularly valuable. Professor, over to you, sir.
All right, so thank you very much for inviting me to talk about the climate change on this World Environment Day 2020. And IIT Gandhinagar has been engaged with Gujarat government of climate change on different number of different projects. Especially, we are revising the action plan on climate change for Gujarat state, and we are also involved with the other projects with GEO Foundation. I mean, today's what I will discuss little bit of science aspects of climate change and what sort of I got this idea race to zero, right? This is the key theme for today's talk or discussion. So, what do we mean by race to zero and how challenging is going to be to win this race to zero? COP21 in the Paris Climate Change Agreement, we decided that the global mean temperature should be below 2 degrees Celsius from the pre-industrial level by the end of 21st century. So, are we going to meet that target, or what do we mean by race to zero? So, I have a few slides. I'll not take a lot of time because I have discussed about the time, and I was told roughly about 10 to 12 minutes. So, I would like to finish in that time period. So, I will share the screen, and please let me know if you can see the screen. And so, can you see the screen? Okay, great. So I was thinking about that. What should be the title? And then I put like climate change challenges in winning the race to zero. And race to zero means that we want to have net emissions zero by mid of 21st century, by 2050. That is sort of a target. And why does it require? Because it will avoid a lot of negative consequences which climate change may cause otherwise. And we all know that what are the outcomes, what are the different risks associated with the climate change or implications of climate change, and Principal Secretary Mr. Heather told that we are witnessing extreme events, we are witnessing unprecedented floods, heat waves, and number of tropical cyclones, number of different activities or unseasonal rainfall, and that has a lot of negative implications as far as different aspects related to agriculture, economy in India. So I will start this discussion with a very simple thing because so the three most important drops in climate change. And why I want to highlight, because we all feel that these are the very simple things, but we often forget that where are the opportunities that we can achieve or gain in terms of cutting the greenhouse gases. Equality with the soil and hello. Yeah. So this slide basically shows that greenhouse gases by major greenhouse gas emissions by major gases, and we can see that CO2 is a big player, 62%. CO2 from land use, land cover change comes down roughly about 11%. CO2 from chemicals, 3%. So if we put this all together, roughly 76% of greenhouse gas emissions are in form of CO2, and then 16% is methane, and then 8% is NO and chlorofluorocarbons. So these are rescaled outputs in terms of global warming potential. So as we all know that methane has much higher global warming potential than carbon dioxide, but carbon dioxide from fossil fuel burning is the largest contributor to overall greenhouse gas emissions. But there might be also opportunities in terms of land use, land cover change, and other sources which account for 40% CO2 emissions. The next plot, basically among these three most important drops in climate change is sources of greenhouse gas emissions by major sectors. So what are the sectors that emit most of these emissions? And that is important to know because we want to see where are the opportunities. So electricity is roughly 25%, and food and land use is almost equal to the electricity. So basically, we want fossil fuels to generate electricity, and that causes greenhouse gas emissions to atmosphere, and that basically because of that we get the climate change. So food and land use and electricity, if you combine, that comes about 49%. Then industry, transportation, and building, they also account for 41%. So these are the six major sectors basically where we have to make a lot of changes, disruptions, if we really want to achieve waste zero by 2050. So it's amazing to see that food and land use is almost as much as electricity generation. So please keep that in mind while we go in deep in our talk. In my talk. The third most important drop in climate change is basically again related to this. I think I did not mention that, but where we have the opportunity to cut or how we can cut the emissions. So of course we have to cut reduce the fossil fuels. We have to change the food habits. We have to change the transportation systems. Also make our industries and buildings more carbon efficient or moving towards the net zero carbon emissions. Now I will highlight that what IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, released a special report roughly I think 2 years back, and they put a summary for policy making. And what they highlight that human activities already caused about 1 degree rise in global warming from the pre-industrial level, and this is likely to reach 1.5 degrees by 2030 to 2062 if it continues to increase at the current rate. So basically, we may not be able to get the meet the Paris target, which is like limiting this global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the end of 21st century. So this may happen much sooner than what we that way, that will increase in non-linear fashion, and we may see that we are going to witness more heat waves, more floods, more droughts, more tropical cyclones like that. So there are different confidence levels. You know that IPCC put always that mean temperature rise in most of the land and oceans is very high confidence. Hot extreme heat waves in most of inhabited regions is very high confidence. Heavy precipitation like weather climate change will cause extreme rainfall events is medium confidence, and drought and precipitation definitely also medium confidence. So there is a varying degree of confidence that how if we continue to emit greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, that what we may witness and what we have already been witnessing in terms of the observed climate or observed climate extreme. So now EMF6 projections are ready, and if you don't know about EMF6, this is coupled model intercomparison project 6, and the new IPCC report will be released soon. It got delayed because of this COVID-19, and what this slide basically shows that how different scenarios of greenhouse gas emissions combined with socio SST scenarios and radiative forcing, how basically they will translate to change in global mean temperature. So you see number of colors like green colors, yellow colors, and red colors. And green colors means that scenarios with very high degree of mitigation. So if you look at the global mean temperature plot, 1.56 Celsius by the end of 21st century, we have to go with SST 1.9. What does it mean? It means that we have to increase limit the rate increase in radiative forcing by the end of 21st century to 1.9 watts per meter square. So that is very high mitigation scenario. And then the other, if you want to limit the global mean temperature below 2 degrees by the end of 21st century from the pre-industrial level, there is a possibility of another scenario, and that is SST 2.6 watts per meter square increase in the radiative. If we don't do anything, then we will follow most likely the SST 8.5, which you see the line at the top, and that means 8.5 watts per meter square rise in the radiative forcing, and that will translate to roughly 4.5 to 5 degree rise in global mean temperature. Now, why it is important to understand these scenarios and or the trajectory, and basically to know, I can tell you that we did some work in our lab, and if the global mean temperature rises to 2 degrees Celsius by the end of the 21st century, heat waves in India may go 16 to 20 fold. Heat waves that occur now once in 5 or 10 years, they may start occurring every year. So these are the consequences of not limiting global mean temperature rise, and that's why the global community is concerned to limit this temperature. But the problem is that these green lines, following them is a heat challenge, and raise to zero basically means that we have to follow the 1.9 scenario. SST 1.9 means cutting the carbon emissions to almost zero by mid of 21st century. And this has new challenges. Of course, this is very ambitious target to meet by the global community, given that we all have differences in terms of pace of growth, development, population, poverty, illiteracy, and many other aspects related to socioeconomic life. Right now, let's look at the bottom of the chart, what we saw here, and that 2015 level radiative forcing, and different colors tell us that, so for instance, the largest distinctive color is U2, and green is CS4, 2 major greenhouse gases, and then the other radiative forcing like aerosols and changes in albedo act as a negative. So they will cut, so if you increase the aerosols, you can get the reduction in temperature, basically the industrial aerosol. So if you compare the most optimistic scenario SSP1 1.9 with the 2015 level, then we have to cut the CO2 emissions by a great deal and also CS4 emissions to sort of follow that trajectory. So that is a challenge, and the other challenge is that we are losing time very quickly, right? We are disrupted by other unlikely events like COVID-19 or post-COVID-19 have helped or might help to reduce the global mean temperature for a very short period. Of course, it will not help in long run as far as climate change is concerned. So climate change is going to stay here, and we have to work together to sort of deal with it. So what we did in our lab, we looked at that South Asia, what is projected in this very recent climate projections which came out from the TV 6, and this is the mean summary from the multiple models, 13 different global climate models, and what do they project for the end of 21st century with respect to 1988 to 2014 in different scenarios. SSP 126 means the mitigation scenario, SSP 585 means that we don't do anything, we go for business as usual. So if you see that most of the models project that rainfall or precipitation is going to increase, if you see the Western India, a very strong increase is projected. That doesn't mean that problems, water-related challenges in Gujarat will be solved, but that means is that we may see more floods, more heavy rain events, and we may see more variability in terms of water availability. Means wet season may be better and dry season may go dry. So we will have, of course, challenges related to water resources and also related to floods because of these projected changes. Then the bottom two panels, basically, we have maximum temperature change and minimum temperature change. So if we follow 126, which means limiting temperature less than 2 degrees Celsius, global mean temperature rise by the end of 21st century, that will have basically maximum temperature rise more than 1 degree Celsius, and with the most optimistic scenario, in more than 3.3 or 3.5 degrees Celsius in the most pessimistic scenario. And same for minimum temperature, more than 4 degree rise. So what does it mean, maximum temperature and minimum temperature? It has a great consequence or implication for agricultural productivity. It is directly related to changes in basically the crop yield, also the number of heat waves or extreme hot days that this region may witness in the future, which is of course very highly populated and depend on agriculture. So this again highlights that why we need to limit or why we need to bring the rate zero, which is basically cutting the global meeting the net carbon zero target by the mid of the 21st century. Climate change impact, I mean, we did a lot of work in our lab on what kind of impact will be there if we follow these different trajectories of emissions, which will lead to changes in our global mean temperature and changes at different regional scales. And a lot of work we have done already for the state of Gujarat, looking at what will happen on agriculture, crop yield, what will happen to water availability, drought, what will happen to floods and public health, right, because of heat waves. And one other aspect is also related to energy demand. If you keep increasing the temperature, our residential energy demand also increases by many fold because we start running AC, and that again puts a lot of burden to fossil fuel emissions. So there is a very strong feedback that how rising temperature will increase energy demand, which may not be able to meet by the renewable sources. So we may end up using more fossil fuel burning to provide the comfort that people may need to avoid the heat stroke or along some heat waves. Now, the other risk of extreme events like tropical cyclones, floods, or heat waves will of course is going to rise by manifold, even if we limit the global mean temperature by 2 degrees Celsius by the end of the century, which is the optimistic target. There are studies published in Nature that there is only 2 to 5% probability that we can meet 2-degree target by the end of this century. So we are not very well placed in terms of achieving these targets. But what I want to highlight here that probability or likelihood of an extreme event increases by manifold as we move towards the increased warming scenario. And the consequences of those extreme events also increase because first, those are happening now are more deadly and they are more they cause more losses economically than they used to cause 30 years back. So we can estimate or quantify the risk, and then we can also estimate vulnerabilities, and then we can figure out that what would be the net cost of climate change in any region or for any country. And the cost of climate change or cost of climate change adaptation is going to rise non-linearly as we move towards the mid of this 21st century. So risk of climate change extremes has increased already, and then number of studies by our labs, number of studies by our groups in India and elsewhere have published basically showing that risk of drought, unseasonal rain, massive floods, heat waves, heat stress, and have increased. And those have posed a lot of pressure basically on the water resources and agricultural systems in South Asia and in India. So adaptation and mitigation are the two major, building blocks where we have to sort of work to avoid the consequences or to minimize the risk of climate change. Adaptation is short-term measure. Of course, we should always focus on mitigation as well because that is like solving the problem from the root. And adaptation is that how we can get away with the negative consequences of climate change. So adaptation has put a very nice guideline, and it involves that developing the knowledge. I think Gujarat is doing already database, vulnerability assessment, and then we have to change the policies or the financial system, and then the adaptation. We have to think about the climate smart management in all the sectors, be it transportation, be it agriculture, be it water resources. We have to improve technology practices that can help or enhance our ability for adoption. And finally, the most important is we have to effectively manage the risk of disasters, which are increasing day by day. So what we should do to build a risk zero against what I'm proposing or I'm going to say here, most of you already know, but this is just sort of reminding ourselves that what we need to do. So we need a dramatic rapid response system. And like COVID-19 is a start from scratch. Climate change has been there, but we have sort of ignored most of the negative impact of climate change because extreme events don't occur every day, or the mortality you don't see like we are seeing because of this pandemic. So first principle of tackling this problem is to first cut the emissions first. It comes mainly from fossil fuels, land use and food. Remember that CO2 emission from land use and food is almost equal to electricity generation. And CO2 from burning fossil fuels is crucial, but this is not the only one. Then enhancing energy conservation is scaling of renewable and electricity generation. Gujarat has been doing phenomenal work in terms of renewable energy. India also has committed from a solar alliance to sort of put a lot of effort in terms of solar and wind electricity generation. Reducing food waste, shifting diet to less damaging food, improving agricultural systems, which mostly we ignore that how much energy we consume in agricultural system, and how it has a cascaded impact on other related sectors which can be more efficient if we can make our agricultural system more efficient. Electrifying transport that Principal Secretary Mr. Hazard has already discussed. Target methane, in fact, methane is 26, 28 times more, having a higher global warming potential, so that this will give us a time. And if you recall that most optimistic scenario, that is 1.9, there is a target to cut methane significantly. Otherwise, it won't happen because it has a very high global warming potential. And then natural carbon sink solutions, that is basically how we can increase the sinks, because that forest and oceans are two major things. Whatever carbon dioxide is released, 40% of that stays in the atmosphere, 55% goes to these two sinks. So we have to sort of increase these things, and also we can say that we are losing the effectiveness or efficiency of these things as the global temperature is increasing. So replanting forests, increasing carbon farming on agricultural land, or something like agroforestry, restoring coastal ecosystems. So these are some sort of ways. There might be many other ways, like related to socioeconomic aspects, behavioral change, and in other areas. But these are some primary ones for us, because I think this is the last slide I have. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Professor Mishra, thank you indeed for a really comprehensive and quite detailed kind of analysis of the challenge we face. I've been scribbling notes and paying a huge amount of attention to your slides. Thank you for sharing all of those areas. I might ask if anyone has questions. Maybe there's a big chat function which, if people would like to pose questions to it, if I can at the very end, I will answer. Try and get our colleagues to answer as many of those. But I'm definitely happy to take them away and try and provide answers after the conference is finished, so we can try and communicate with you particularly afterwards. But I'm conscious of time, conscious not to prevent our speakers from sharing. But really just to say to Professor Mishra, thank you so much. Struck so much by your graphs and showing the various trajectories depending on the actions we take. The UK, I don't know if I should be saying proud, because it's such a challenge. I don't know if proud is quite the expression. But the UK has made a commitment to try and achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. And indeed, it has gone one step further by making that into a law. We have passed a law in our parliament that locks that commitment into place. So it is not something our future government can change. It is now part of the fabric of our law, and we will achieve that. It is obviously, as you say, ambitious, and it's going to be quite a challenge to achieve, but I think the political will is there, and that is something which is terribly important in trying to make a difference. So I'm pleased very much by that. I was struck also by your description of the increasing amount of disasters, increasing amount of effects that we're likely to witness by the rise in temperature that we face. I think we all recognize that challenge. But curiously, one of the unforeseen aspects of the COVID crisis that we're working through has been a beneficial effect of some of the activities with pollution reducing our air as cleaner. We are, I think, demonstrating that we have a capability to make a change, and the change will make a difference. We need to recognize that. And one of the expressions that I have been struck by, used by our Minister, Mr. Alok Sharma, who will be the chair of our conference next year, he used an expression called, let us try to, as we rebuild our economies, as we recover after the COVID crisis, he used the expression of build back better. Because it's an opportunity for us to make the changes in our economies, in our industries, in our behaviors, so that we can try and make that difference now. We have an opportunity, a window that we can make that difference. So I was struck very much by that too. But you quite rightly identify the risks and you found the key solutions. I wasn't aware before of how much a role that methane plays, and that's come through very clearly for me that that might be the first thing to really target so that we can make a difference. And it gives us the time to work on some of the other aspects which may take longer. So really helpful. So thank you so much for that. Super. I wonder if we can perhaps go back and see if Natalie's microphone is able to communicate with us.
Peter, can you hear me now?
I can, thank you. Lovely. Can I have it?
I've got my phone, so sorry, you're now sitting on the phone screen. Hopefully this will initially appear.
Thank you.
Great, and thank you very much, Peter, for inviting me today. It's fantastic to be with you virtually on World Environment Day, and it's particularly fantastic to see this event virtually in Gujarat, which, as the principal secretary has said, is a state which has been leading the way on renewable power in particular for a number of years, and we're all really excited to see what you do next. I know we're thinking about the new ultra mega renewable parks to be set up shortly as well. So really great to hear you, especially today. So thank you very much. But I wanted to turn first to the issue that Peter actually mentioned, then the question of COVID-19 and the impact on climate change. It's clear that COVID has led to an unprecedented shutdown of large parts of the global economy, and that's had really severe consequences for all countries. It also provides a stark reminder of what happens when humanity's relationship with nature breaks down, I think. And as we recover from C-19, we have to make a decision about what we want that relationship to look like in the future, about what kind of recovery we want, about what kind of future we want. We owe it to future generations to protect and restore nature, reducing our exposure to deadly viruses as well as climate impact. So we need to lay the foundation for sustainable inclusive growth that creates jobs and industry for the future and to address these new challenges of public health, climate change, and biodiversity. And the Paris Agreement, of course, and the UN Sustainable Development Goals are a very strong framework to guide this action. And next year, as we mentioned, the COP26 UN climate change conference in Glasgow can be a moment, we hope, where the world unites for the recovery and delivers for people and for the planet. I think earlier this week, the COP Euro confirmed that COP26 will be delayed by a year but will take place in the 1st and 12th of November in 2021. And the revised date will allow the UK and our international partners to also harness the G7 and G20 presidency in driving climate action. And of course, India will be a particularly partner because they both now, currently, on this World Environment Day, we're looking at a period of more than 50 uninterrupted days of coal power in the UK. That's the longest period since the Industrial Revolution. And last month, we announced plans for the world's largest offshore wind farm, which is going to create wind jobs and provide new earnings, 4.5 million UK homes. Yes, we've taken out the extra time to wait. We've just experienced our second warmest April ever. We've had the UK had its 20th century since the record began, and here we're already cyclone, locusts, the recent kind of maximum heat in Delhi here last week. So the urgency is also very much there. But the good news is that these are all areas where we're also developing strong UK-India partnerships. For example, last year, the UK company Neo Charging launched a major plan to make their smart pods for electric vehicles take over India. And last week, the UK company Organised announced they're going to supply the world's first commercially available sodium-ion battery here as well. And also, another really important thing is the coalition of starting infrastructure, which Arab Sharma, our president, chairs. India's initiative announced by CMO last September, which our conference was chaired in the UK mission of CMO, the first meeting of that a couple of months ago as well. So there's a lot of really exciting things happening. But of course, climate action is just about the government. That's why the UK is chosen today as World Environment Day for the launch of the Race to Zero, a global COP26 campaign to mobilise leadership, businesses, cities, regions, and investors, all committed to this goal of achieving net zero by 2050. So we need to get further advanced towards a clean and sustainable recovery if we work together. And that's why we're working with government to remember this country is so reliant on the telecommunications infrastructure, and also we're delighted to work with Organised WI project to coordinate corporate communities to bring together businesses that need green commitment. Finally, I'll just mention that the COP26 will define 5 key areas of action. We're working with global partners we can make faster progress on European challenges of climate action. First of all, clean energy, moving away from polluting options, cars, and low-cost zero-emission technology in the future. Second, clean transport, reinforcing the zero-emission vehicles from affordable diesel, electric vehicles. And third, nature-based solutions. With the Convention on Biological Diversity Board that will take place this year, 2021 is a really important year for nature. We should work to safeguard ecosystems and protect natural habitat. And fourth, of course, application of resilience to help customers that is worth invest in finance to unleash the capital so of course to a zero carbon economy. So as the economic conference thing, we're going to continue to affect businesses, affect countries around the world, before we're also affecting ourselves before too. And I'm just really glad that here in India actually brings that a place where so many people are voting to this action. So by your support, we're going to be able to make that progress faster. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was a really helpful kind of quick synopsis of the range of things that the UK is doing in preparation for COP26. And again, struck very much by the activities that we've already launched in India through a number of the key initiatives that India shares, the disaster resilience initiative, the Solar Alliance that I know is launched by Prime Minister Modi, and also working with people like the World Resource Institute. And I think you quite rightly highlighted that it's not just government that needs to play its role beyond itself, but the whole of society needs to respond. And that I think is particularly striking because it's about corporate behavior, individual behavior, community behaviors that are going to see the change happen. And I'm so pleased that a lot of the work that has been led by your office in Delhi and across the network that we have in India is engaging those particular actors to try and see how we can align the actions, align the behaviors in a way storytelling. So thank you very much for sharing that. And I'm sure that as we get closer to COP26, we will want to share more news of what is happening, not just in the UK-India partnership, but what the UK is doing with other partners around the world to try and share good practice, to try and share what technologies are working, what solutions are making a difference. So we'll be very keen to follow up with that and share that with the audience that we have today. There's plenty more to build on, I hope, in the future. I think also that highlights the link quite nicely to our next speaker, Shirag Gajra from the World Resources Institute, and his the Green Alliance, particularly. And so I think it would be really useful to have an insight to their work and the activities that they've been leading to try and understand a little bit about how those communities and how that corporate level engagement is making its progress. So if I could invite Shirag, please, over to you. Shirag, you might need to unmute. I can see your mute button is still pressed. Thank you.
Am I audible now? All right, thank you. Deputy High Commissioner, thank you so much for inviting me to my online session here on my for the benefit of the given abstract, I can highlight the organization on subnational and corporate collaboration. And WRI here is a medium discussion in time, and we're part of the network of other software. Let me start by giving one small vision. I think every high commission already spoke about. Let us all come together and build life better. As we better the COVID-19 pandemic among other environments, disasters, we recent cyclones, earthquakes, floods, hailstorms. It's now more than ever that everyone comes together to support environmental initiatives, even in the smallest possible ways. The international goal towards net zero has already been established. Late net zero campaign is not a campaign of the national needs to capitalize the leadership and support from and networks of businesses, region, and industries. As Deputy High Commissioner mentioned something earlier, as Dr. Ayers and co-located with the High Commission, there is a significant of corporate institution alliance initiating our and it brings together civil society organizations and tech, corporate inclusion means transaction life while mobilizing social development. Iran aims to foster more partnerships among corporate sector in India. Achieving the net zero target, coming to the topic of the budget, it means that there are also for sources within a given territory in a given time frame, not exceeding budget, and both companies come together in that territory. Importantly, net zero targets are to represent a true commitment to a zero carbon future. They must also inform the kind of year and income targets that is having the need to do the target. Net zero, here we all know that net zero is happening. Net zero target is happening for 2050. However, we need to understand that not everyone in this space starts at the same starting point. The countries are different regions, the cities are different, have already made some progress, but some of them also need progress. Many regions in developing countries are in education support. While they develop their net zero targets, they will face several choices and decisions. Whether they are part of the city organizations or businesses, they will have several choices that they will have to develop their net zero targets. Some of them include, for example, smoke and decarbonate, whether the target should cover all the gases from which already pointed out, the contribution of different gases in each sector. It's important that the targets cover all the gases and molecules that allows. However, one challenge that the decision makers are particularly face is how to prioritize these different across the scope of technology. For example, whether they should focus This is where this planets have material beauty considered. Now, we also know that in the process where the ancient target was not actually however, what does those ancient targets mean? We know that in the 17th century, there's not intelligence, so this there was the innovation on net zero. Or if so, how to decide that what will be the landscape for aligning innovation targets. The next question around is offsetting. How do we use those? One clear requirement is that the offsets that whenever or wherever we want to form their organization, they should be complementary to their organization. However, the extent to which the offsetting should be used on the there are also huge uncertainties around technological and knowledge. There was a report sometime back that stated that under the data capture storage, 80% of the population that do we need ornithologists, they're not even some of the do about, right? So there are recommendations how do we address their there is also a dependency factor. So companies they set up their targets they rely on their supply chain management and how to address this there's also a question of governance at a company level and at a level or at the national level. And we need to see that based on the current factors, they have set up a net zero target or have net zero target on either economy or so there are national risks that I believe that addressing the whole business will help maximize contribution of the competition in line with the laws. As a net zero target on its own is not sufficient to
एक्चुअली આમાં કેવું છે કે જ્યારે કોઈ જોઈન થાય કે બહાર જાય તો થોડી વાર સુધી ચેન્જ થશે જો પાછું સુધરી જશે ઓટોમેટિકલી
You're right. Thank you so much indeed for sharing that. And struck very much by those insights. The challenges we face with the need to prioritize carefully to select which ones we think we can make the biggest impact with. The message quite clearly that the end date is known, the deadline is known, but we don't start from the same position. And there needs to be some sensitivity shown to those countries that have further back and that have different challenges to overcome. It's not just a race for zero, there's a race for development. And trying to balance those two issues is a really important challenge, which policymakers will really have to think very hard about. And so I'm struck particularly by that. I also took special note of the offsetting challenge, how we get that particular aspect right, because getting those kinds of measures is going to be crucial. It's getting these little mechanisms to help us balance that development space, whether this is the race to zero. These are going to be quite crucial in showing the solidarity across nations and across communities, so that we can be sensitive and try to strike the best balance possible. And I also made a note about how important it is as countries each look at how we achieve net zero, to try and build in that good practice, which technologies work, which technologies are going to take too long to develop and be successful, recognizing the economic factors that often stimulate technology. When the economies of wind power and solar power become equal with carbon, you will start to see consumer choice, you start to see consumer behavior shifts. So getting the economic aspects right is a really important part of trying to encourage society to make the changes it needs to make. So, gosh, so many important areas, technology-based solutions, and what Natalie mentioned there about nature-based solutions, and how the corporate world needs to think similarly about how it blends those two aspects together. So there is no shortage of serious thinking required, and I'm delighted that the World Resources Institute is leading a lot of the work to try and help corporate businesses to understand those, to look at and analyze areas where they can make that difference, where they can get that balance a little better. And particularly in that rebuilding process that we have post-COVID, what are the small changes that might really make a big difference, that we can tackle some of the leading issues, whether that's leading, as the Professor quite rightly identified as one of the key first steps we could take, with buyers time to do some of the other interim targets equally. So there's so much there that I think is so valuable. And I could talk on with you for many more hours, I'm sure. We'll need to do that on a separate occasion. But thank you so much for your contribution. That was really helpful. If I can now move on to our next speaker, Alex Malhotra from the Centre for Green Mobility. I know he has a particular expertise and a particular interest in this subject matter. I hope some of the other conversations that we've already had on this call will be of interest to him and others. But I'm really interested in the insights that he can offer us from his quite vast experience working with so many across the sector and with his team.
Thank you so much, Peter. Really delighted to be here, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this webinar. Climate change, as we know, I have been working in the area of climate change for the last 12 to 14 years, particularly in the area of mobility. So I will speak from that perspective. And I have a small presentation to share, which I will just share my screen. Just sharing a few of my thoughts. So are you able to see my screen?
And that's not yet, sorry. Please continue, and we'll try and see if we can facilitate that as we go on.
Okay. So the screen is not visible.
I'm afraid not. It's not come up on my screen. I don't know how others can see, but please continue, and I'll ask Masoom to try and fix it if he can.
Okay. Anyway, then I will just speak on mic. Let me just, yeah, all right. So I will actually look at my own slide so that I can not lose the train of thought. Essentially, if we look at the transport sector in India, the transport sector by itself is responsible for about 44% of the entire carbon emissions in India. So that's a huge amount of carbon emissions. That's an enormous amount of carbon emissions only coming from transport sector. And actually, if we looked at the green skies, the blue skies of during the lockdown period during the COVID, we've felt very very nice about those blue skies, and sometimes at one point in time we actually thought that our carbon emissions and our particulate matter was actually equal to Europe. When we go to Europe for spending time vacations, we actually have the same amount of same quality of air in Ahmedabad and Delhi that we had in Europe. So actually, lockdown, this COVID time has actually shown us that it actually required a huge amount of disruption in our current state of affairs to actually look at what we want and where we want to be. And I'm sure that any of us are absolutely wanting to keep it that way, not the COVID, but the blue sky. So we want that air for us, we want that environment for us, and we want it permanently with us. Now, how do we achieve that? I mean, there's a remarkable difference in the way that the entire lockdown actually happened. If you look at the data, which we have recently sort of got data from the survey, the walking and cycling actually during the COVID times, it increased more than the car usage, or increased more than the any kind of vehicle usage. Now, and that is true for even now. Even after the unlocked down 1.0, we still see a lot of people walking and cycling, and as having a preferred mode of going from one place to the other. Now, having said that, walking and cycling has never been much of a priority till now, so to speak. We've actually seen that 40%, 50% of India still walks and cycles as their first choice of transport. But the amount of infrastructure that is built for walking and cycling in the entire country is minimalist. Actually, it's negligent of it, almost. Now, that I think is one of the biggest and a very important aspect of having climate change with respect to mobility, as to how we can actually have a better climate, better environment, without having to miss our offices, without having to miss our work hours, and actually having all of that right at on our everyday life. Now, how to get that is the real question. Should we let all the advantage of the lockdown of the good environment go? Should we not have anything out of the crisis that we can work with for our entire future? Now that is the biggest challenge. How importantly, how massively the lockdown or the COVID has impacted. Actually, our actions have to follow in the same manner. That is the big challenge now. Because the policies are there. I think the government of India in 2006 brought out the National Urban Transport Policy. Delhi has been very progressive in bringing up the walkability policy. It has brought out the transit-oriented development policy. A lot of states in India have actually adopted that after the national government published it in 2017. Now, after that, but the implementation of each of these policies has not actually started on the ground. Now, here is the time when we actually need to just accelerate all of that work and make sure that the results are delivered in good amount of time. One of the things that we are looking at, specifically speaking of London and specifically speaking of New Zealand and Spain and Italy, you would have seen the pictures that the pop-up bike lanes and the pop-up walking lanes have actually started coming up in the city. It is just basically giving more and more space for people to walk. It is giving more and more space for people to cycle, and having just enough space so that people don't come close to each other, they don't crowd, plus they actually are able to have a good environment, have cleaner air, and reach their offices. So this is something that started all over the world. I think if I could have shown you the slide, this was last year we had done. I had done an experiment, and it was a very well taken experiment at Karol Bagh in Delhi, where we had blocked off the entire street, and just by paint and by colors, we have just blocked off the entire street, and the whole street is now pedestrian street, which has actually twice the number of pedestrians which it used to have before. So by actually just not spending too much money, we can quickly make our cities very walkable, our cities very, very bike friendly, and without actually having to compromise any of our comforts. It's actually quite amazing that if I tell you the data, that 60% of all trips in the city are less than 4 kilometers. Now, 4 kilometers
is only about 12 minutes of cycling. And if that 4 kilometers has that kind of infrastructure that our city demands, then I'm sure that most of the people, which is a young population, as we know that India is a very young country, and most of the people are young in India, it actually boosts their whole health quotient by actually not having to choose car or not having to choose the motorized vehicle. So 4 kilometers is anything but very much possible for a lot of people with a good tree shade. If provided on the streets, they can very well cycle or walk to the work. Now, this fact actually we need to recognize, we need to embrace, and we need to direct our investment in this area so that our air is breathable even after COVID. Of course, this is going to take some time. It's going to take about 1 or 2 years, but I think we need to start right away and actually lock those advances and not let them go. That I would say is the biggest challenge, and I think the biggest opportunity that we have in our cities, so that we can directly claim climate comfort, in no amount of time. Then the second most, I think, I've just spoken about the walking and cycling part. The second most important part is the public transport. Now, we have seen that people are actually fearful. People are actually kind of, doubtful about whether public transport will work. Having said that, most people are actually on public transport. Even with the, let's say, amount of cars that you see on the road, there's just about between 10 to 12% of all the motorized roads, but the most amount of people are still on public transport. Now, if public transport attracts so many people, that it means that it's the lifeline of any city. Now, having been the lifeline, we should not cut the lifeline, we should not cut the vein. The only thing that we should do is that we could provide dedicated lanes of public transport so that there is more amount of capacity, more amount of buses that we can run, so that more and more people can actually travel. There's more physical distance within the bus. So if your number of people are reducing, we just need to increase the number of buses, and so that the equal amount of capacity is met. And therefore, our emissions per capita are very much in control if we look at public transport as one of the important means of going from one place to the other. Of course, we need a lot of investment. I think our latest figures show that India will need about 1.5 lakh buses in the near future to actually meet with the COVID demand. And actually provide that kind of people. But I would say that if there was any place that these investments need to go, then public transport is the place where they need to go, and not actually going into the car, way or the motorized way. This is where we need to spend money. And the third most important aspect that I would like to highlight here is that all of the mobility actually depends a lot on how we plan our home, office, and shopping places. So if they are near to each other, like we see in Gujarat, actually, Gujarat is a very good model in which the home and public places and the office spaces are very close to each other. But in most other cities in India, that's not the case. And I think this is the most important aspect that we have to kind of get it inside our master planning, get it inside our development plans and in our policy, that our work and home places need to be near to each other, 5-minute walking distance, and therefore the work from home is the reality. You should not have the need to travel at all. We need to reduce our travel. We need to create more opportunities for work from home, and if you want to go out, you can have recreation space, you can have a large public space, which is a shared space like a park or a garden, and all of these spaces should be open to people at all times. So we need more space in open spaces, we need more space in public transport, and we need more space in walking and cycling. I would say that is one of the big ways that we can capture the benefits of mobility as well as the benefits of not having to go into the climate crisis. in the near future. Thank you very much. And thank you indeed. Your insights into the mobility question are really striking. As a person who has been so close to that particular set of issues, I think we share, we recognize, I think we all see the clear messages that you identify of those additional space for cyclists, passengers, which have perhaps been the accidental benefits of the COVID situation. But it illustrates that with little change, we can make a difference. And I think I'm also struck by the leadership which Gujarat has shown, which Mr. Hyder highlighted in terms of trying to put more electric vehicles, electric buses as part of the plan, trying to inspire younger people, students, to take advantage of some of the subsidies that are available for purchasing electric three-wheel vehicles, electric scooters. Those are the primary steps to try and encourage that change in behaviour. I know from the UK experience that many people are going to reevaluate and reassess their work-life balance, and the idea of working from home or working from an office that's closer to home is going to become a much more sharp decision for them to make. That, I think, has already started. I know of many people who are thinking of that kind of shift. Indeed, in our own foreign ministry in London, we have started what we call the big conversation, which is, what will our new working pattern be? What will our new habits of work need to be? And that will recognize both the need for people to be safe, that they need a little bit more space for that work, and also how they travel, how they commute from their workplace to their home. So that I hope that there are other conversations taking place with employers, with other groups, trying to unlock some of those ideas to see if we can create a better balance for our own happiness, but the benefits for both productivity. Employers are always interested in productivity, but also its benefits for our society, for our environment, could be so acute, so sharp. I'm really struck by the mobility question. I think one of the keys that might unlock so much more, and some of these little interventions, we have an opportunity, perhaps as a post-COVID response, building back better. And some of that might be valuable. Indeed, in conducting webinars like this, I think are going to be more valuable, more common in the future. And we won't need to be flying in aeroplanes. We will need to be trying to travel long distances to have conversations with each other. We can do this in a much more convenient way. So thank you so much for highlighting those. That's a particularly strong set of messages. So thank you for that. I wanted just to remind our audience who are listening that if anyone has questions, please do post them in the chat function of this, and we will try and pick those questions and read it to our panelists. We'll do a few, I think. So if there are too many, we may need to take them away and get responses after the conference is finished. But please, if anyone has questions, post them there, and I'll try and come to them at the very end. I've got one more speaker to introduce, and want particularly to say thank you indeed to Mr. Amor Dalvi from Omayor Technologies. We have been in conversation with Omayor and with Amor in a number of different areas over the past 6 to 9 months, and very keen to hear his particular contribution. He has a very exciting range of interests, which I think are very pertinent to the conversation we're having. I know that they have done some leading work on water-based technologies, but I think their interests stretch far away from that. And indeed, whilst they've done a lot of work in Gujarat, they are bringing a pan-India business, looking very hard at how they can contribute to that technology set, that set of technology solutions that we need. And so I'm delighted, genuinely delighted that you've been able to join our panel today. A hugely valuable speaker to give that best insight from his perspective. And so please can I pass over to Amor. Amor, pardon me, Amor, I think you're still on mute. Can I ask you to unmute yourself, please? And then, thank you. Sorry. something now? No, I'm hearing somebody else, I think. Pardon me. How much is time to I got you now? Perfect.
I run a lot and I'm extremely honored to be on the platform. I got a chance due to my whatever technology that I got in India. For my passion to get such technology to work with poverty and to actually benefit all the society, all the members of this nation, or not only this nation, all the world, because we are getting into serious trouble due to climate change. That's we got. So this is not introduction about mobile technology. It's a very small startup. It started up due to my passion to work towards the industry which will help climate change from the private sector. When I thought, because I don't have any degree like what you guys have in maybe like climate change. I'm a normal commerce graduate with MBA, but my intent was to get into climate.
Show participants.
I'm sorry, we seem to have lost. I think that either the connection has dropped or there's been another technical glitch. See if we can get him to come back shortly. Let's see if he can rejoin us. He's not coming up yet. Let me, if I may, just take a moment then to share a few other thoughts until Emma is back with us. I wanted to particularly highlight one aspect which I was going to mention at the end, but let me mention it now. One of the areas where the UK is particularly keen to work alongside Gujarat, but India in general. One of the areas that I know is very related to us is in the area of green finance. And so for some of the helpful suggestions that Andrew's made, some of the other aspects which we've been talking about from both the corporate side and indeed from the government side, is to work more closely together to try and be a helpful facilitator, at least for the financial aspects of trying to promote better behavior, trying to promote better corporate policies that will make a real difference. And we've been in conversation with institutions like Gift City in Gandhinagar in Gujarat, to try and establish that new set of financial measures, new set of financial instruments, which may be helpful. It's very early days in that conversation, so I can't actually promise a huge amount of progress yet, but that is something which I think we will try and revive and re-inject with fresh momentum, because I think getting good financial instruments and making those available to corporate sector, to public sector, to private investors. We've had some success already. We have a green growth equity fund, which we established in conjunction with the Indian government. This is a very important fund. It's actually made its first investment to Ayana Renewable Power, developing 800 megawatts of solar capacity. That fund is available for other corporates, for other institutions, to try and access finance that will be beneficial for their particular plans. We would love to see more people coming forward for that particular investment opportunity, and we look forward to hearing more ideas and plans for that. That would be a particular area of interest that the UK would like to champion. I think if we can get something growing, continue with institutions like university, we might see that really become a powerful tool, which everyone can take advantage of. So that's one area that we want to develop. I feel we have lost ammo from our call. I think the connection must have dropped and we have not been able to connect with him. Ammo, are you there by any chance? I don't see you on the screen. I feel we've lost him. That's a great shame. I know he has done quite a lot in what, and indeed has done a number of very interesting proposals for how we can help in water-based technologies, for example. And it would be really quite interesting to hear, because we know that water is such a critical resource for the states in Western India, Gujarat, Rajasthan, etc. Getting that balance right, and I think Professor Mishra's very helpful chart highlighted the water resource as being one of the critical measurements of whether we were making the right kind of impact. And so I think we have, we need to focus some attention on that particular part. And so I see there's a message in the chat. Let me just check if that's from. All right. We have a question from Mr. Hyder from one of our participants. Let me just try and get the question. Quite a long one. Several different groups working on climate change, corporate, bilateral, multilateral institutions. But there is a need perhaps for a platform, a structured platform, where stakeholders can come together and create the right kind of activity. Would the Gujarat government be able to facilitate such a stakeholder platform, bringing people together? Mr. Hyder, are you able to offer any thoughts on that?
Yes, please. It's a good idea, and we are agreeable to this proposition. In fact, in our own way, we have like a constituted technical committee and business advisory committee, and obviously, for understandable reasons, we cannot include everybody on board, but whosoever is interested in contributing anything intellectually, whosoever has any bright idea on how best we can address the concerns arising out of climate change, we would be all too willing to engage with that person, and our climate change department would always welcome such people with open arms.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. That would be particularly helpful. We might pick up with your office afterwards. Some thoughts on if there is any way that the UK government can be helpful in facilitating that, or at least trying to relay those that are interested, so that we can see what might be possible. We'll take that as a little action after this particular vote. Thank you. There is another question for the panelists. That both the IPCC and the UK Climate Change Committee have highlighted the need for negative emissions. In addition to increasing efforts to cut greenhouse gases, emissions need to have negative emissions if we propose a net zero. And so within that is two related aspects: the different responses to the problem of rising temperatures. The first is to stop releasing greenhouse gases. The second is to remove CO2 from the atmosphere using negative emissions technologies, that carbon sinks are what we are reflecting there. It's quite a long question. The most problem is that most of these net zero or negative emissions technologies are still only prospective. They do not exist as large-scale systems. In such cases, how does India, or for that matter any other country, ensure that net zero targets are achieved? Net zero targets and negative emissions technologies. Professor, might I put it up to you to see if there's a particular scientific understanding that would be helpful to us?
I mean, as I mentioned in my talk, that the technology to create artificial person things is effective technology to create artificial person things not there. That's why I focused on emphasizing the natural things, getting more natural things. So that's what go for it or take action later because there is this thing in few or 6 minutes. कैसल जी आपका माइक्रोफोन ऑन है कैसल जी आपका माइक्रोफोन ओके so what I was saying here speaker is back if you want to take it please go ahead and take it because otherwise it will take a lot of time right you are muted by the way also Mr. Peter
Thank you, Vima, for quoting that, and thank you for giving us a little time. And well, I'm delighted to see you back. Sorry about the technology glitch. Let us hand back to you now if we can, please.
Can everyone hear me now? Okay. So I was just I wanted to inform you about the technology what we have got here in India, which can actually work on climate change. And the scientists who have like more than 32 patents in this regard, I have got this right for India, and we have had a very successful testing or pilot with Delhi IIT, where the AQI, like air quality index, was taken up to 1 lakh, and we got it down to 150 in just 2 hours, and we have got detailed technical report of it. And not only that, right now we are actually working on a project in Mexico where they are getting rain, conventional rain, on a dry land, where the humidity is more than 30%. So I feel that like these type of technologies would give you solutions. I understand that technologies are creating carbon emissions, they are creating solutions, but we need short-term solutions as well as long-term solutions. Long-term solutions could be like doing the cycling, removing whatever like industrialization or whatever that will lower down the pollution. That is what we are experiencing right now during this COVID lockdown. But this COVID lockdown is not going to be placed forever. At least for the next 25 years, this whole system is going to run the way it runs. Immediately, we do not have any solution which could actually lower down the pollution. That's why we need to have some technology which can give you the effect of a vacuum cleaner which can remove pollution from the industrial cities. And I've got some technologies like those which is by electromagnetic. It is electricization of the atmosphere. Also, we have worked on Lake Kazan, which was not treated for 80 years, and we actually converted it into like it was totally black water with lower pH levels. We got higher pH levels. We got the ecology back to the lake. So these are certain technologies which could be used in countries like India or anywhere in the world for the matter right now, because the world is running very fast towards polluted and contaminated world. Even though it's Europe or UK or USA, they are getting higher and higher pollution. These type of technologies will give you short-term as well as long-term solutions. And I feel that we should actually give it a try, because as I told you, I'm not a big company. It's just a startup. I will support from the guys like you, Peter Book, Haider sir, or Nasali, my associate Abhishek, who have been working very hard to get this thing done in Gujarat. I really want to thank him to get me on such a beautiful platform where people are working so passionately. I must thank actually Peter Cook and everybody here, whatever I call up for are saying, Manar, everybody is so keen towards the betterment of the environment. And to do something for environment, we need to have technology and hard work, and first of all, we need to have that passion towards it. We have to have the wholeheartedness, which I could see that everybody here who are available on this platform to have that. Apart from capital, apart from the human effort, apart from the technology, what you need is a true wholeheartedness towards climate change. That's what I feel. And I feel that together we will put effort, we would definitely achieve the target what UK has for 2050 as the zero carbon emission. We have very effective technologies in the world. Only thing is that we need to get those technologies and have them working for us in commercial and social format. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you everyone.
Thank you very much indeed for contributing and for joining us today. I'm sorry that we had the interruption at the beginning, but your messages are very clear and very helpful. And indeed, the technologies you mentioned about being able to reduce air pollution down to a much more manageable level, from creating the rain from just the high humidity that exists in certain places of the world, are very striking. And indeed, the effort to try and return Lake Kazan to a more ecological asset that will make it to reward the local ecology, but also to clean up the water such that it becomes of more valuable use for agriculture, for industry, and even for public consumption. Those are fantastic solutions. And I see one of our, in our chat comments, someone is already very interested to make contact with you. We'll pass that particular name on. But thank you so much for that.
Sorry, I want to interrupt. Anybody has any questions about this technology? We can have those discussions as well, because it's the electrification of atmosphere. Right now it is working in Mexico, and they have given phenomenal results for last 6 months.
Fantastic, sir. Well, we will continue our conversation with you. I know that we have started that conversation already and would like, I think, to explore some more of those ideas. I mentioned just once there was a disconnection, that we have this green growth equity fund, which is able to support industries and technology solutions. And so I think we would love to try and engage with you to see if that's an attractive opportunity to work together. So that would be something we can definitely take forward. So I'm delighted you were able to join us, and thank you so much for sparing the time. I've got a couple of very interesting questions which I'd like to relay to the group. I know that Professor Vimal started to answer the question we had before, and particularly on that net zero target thing. I think the professor highlighted that in his presentation he did try and address some of the questions on net zero and negative emissions, the areas which need to be allowed to help remove carbon from the atmosphere, as well as capping the amount of carbon we then continue to produce. I will see if the professor would be kind enough perhaps to share a little of that slide with us, and we can forward it to the questioner, just so that they can understand a little bit about what you said, sir. But let's move on to another question, which came in from one of our guests. Can India keep on track for its NDC despite COVID-19? And also, how can Gujarat's state-level activity ensure that it channels into achievement of national targets? I think the message came through from Mr. Hyder earlier on that very much there is an alignment between the state and the national plan. The two are very similar, and indeed one flows from the other. I wonder if any of our other speakers had any thoughts on how to ensure that state-level actions can lead into national targets. Does anyone have a strong feeling about experience they've seen elsewhere highlighting that? I'm not hearing anyone. I mean, I think that. Go ahead.
Yeah, Adler here.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I would like to touch upon one particular aspect only. Uh, like the country has got a very ambitious target of producing 175 gigawatts of, out of new and renewable energy by the year 2022. Out of that, 100 gigawatts has been earmarked for the solar sector. Now, in order to achieve this 100 gigawatt, we have allocations given to various states. So, insofar as the state of Gujarat is concerned, we have been given a target of producing 8 gigawatts of solar energy by 2022. And out of 8 gigawatts, that is to say 8,000 megawatts, we are supposed to produce 40% by way of solar rooftop. That would come to 3.2 gigawatts. So essentially, the state government would be working and the state action plans would be formulated in such a way as would have a convergence with the national action plan on climate change. And basically, these things are being revisited as of now just to factor in the various nationally determined contributions of India so that in the foreseeable future, we should work towards the implementation of those targets and sub-targets which have been allocated to various states and the nation as a whole. So basically, we are working very much in tandem with the national government and under the overall framework which has been provided to us by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change Government of India.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for that helpful explanation. That's very kind of you, and a very clear answer. All of the contributions and you are aiming at those targets, aiming at those goals. A couple of questions. Let me just do two more, and then we'll finish. One is a question which I suspected for me as much as anyone else, from a guest asking about how startups, several are grouped around Bangalore and Delhi, can also access support. I would suggest that certainly get in touch with the local British High Commission in Bangalore or indeed the British High Commission in Delhi. Do please make yourself known to us. But also, I think make contact with the communities around, if it's finance that you're after, talk to your bank. We are doing quite a lot of work with banks to try and help support green technologies, green solutions, not just the global, the Green Growth Equity Fund, but there are other areas where we like to look at green finance. We are definitely going to work in Gujarat, the city and other institutions to see how we can stimulate that. We'll try and work, of course, with the banking sector to make sure that feeds through to provide the kind of support for particular enterprises. So I think the short answer is please share more of those contacts and let us know what you're looking at and what you're working on, and I'm sure we can do more to help. The other area was in the insights which Alex was able to share on mobility. We have a question from Arshad, who has asked if there is anything similar for the fashion industry, highlighting the fact that the fashion industry is the second largest polluting industry after oil. I don't think we have any fashion experts on that panel today, but I wonder if there's any particular insights that anyone can offer on how, if there's I see Shuraj has put his hand up. Shuraj, please.
Thank you. And thanks for that question, Richard. We've been working on one project called Clothing the Youth Market Leaders Project that society needs that answers to all the questions. That is the sixth time in the research. I'm not calling it a fashion project, calling it one of the ideas and one of the thoughts that we had when we started working on this project was because of the current market conditions before that, wherein if we impact of the reduced model model and the environment provides us this guidance documents are either helping out the brand manufacturers the media facing or industries of the now, one of the biggest challenges COVID-19 for the fashion industry and fashion house is going to be around how to ensure that the spread of the virus is reduced because of the question is around how do you stop the virus because if we start using the tools more often, then there is a possibility of being the idea is that if you start moving to the resource efficient, then it and industry, they have to notice benefits, not just concern knowledge, reducing impact on the environment. The guidance documents associated that we have ensured that the question verification and just last week we had a webinar on
Lovely. Thank you so much, Shiva. That's a really helpful answer. I wonder if our shareholders might like to check out the World Resources Institute website and see what information may be there on the textile and fashion industries. There may be a lot of information that can be easily obtained, and we'll gladly try and facilitate future sharing of information between us. I want to, I think there's one more question that's come in, so let me take one last question, which keeping climate change and post-COVID in mind, how do we suggest we look at urban mobility in cities? I wonder if I could ask Anu, because mobility is very much his subject. You covered a lot of this, I think, in your presentation, Anu. But is there any other further thoughts that you might want to offer? Akriti Kishori is the questioner.
Okay, thank you. I think there is one important aspect that probably I didn't speak about as much which is related to housing. Now, we've seen in this COVID crisis that the migrant exodus has been one of the most striking features of what India went through in the COVID crisis. Now, one of the important reasons for the migration or any kind of movement of people is primarily linked to housing, and actually, is for the more well-to-do people, for the more middle-class people, or the upper middle-class people who had proper housing or who had homes to live in. Migration never occurred to them that they would have to migrate from one place to the other. While the migrants are actually, because of lack of housing and lack of real, places to stay, rental housing or otherwise, they had to choose to migrate. Now, this mobility of question is actually quite related to housing as well, I would say, in a very, very direct manner. Is that one of the things that we need to do post-COVID or immediately, I would say, and get our act together, is actually in the area of providing rental housing and in the area of providing LIT or EWS housing. Now, I have seen in a lot of cities, in Rajasthan, Delhi in particular, that a lot of private lands are also encouraged to create EWS and rental housing, closer to around 15% of the FSI that they actually lock in for their development. I think those kind of progressive policies we need to bring in Gujarat as well, where it is not just government money that goes into creation of this housing, because only governments cannot manage such a huge amount of number or units, delivery of units in a very short time. I think we will have to look at very innovative mechanisms of even attracting private capital into creation of these small unit housing and rental housing, so that this crisis can be avoided in a very short span of time. Of course, the target is huge, and therefore more the participation, more the better I think the conditions would be. So I think this is one aspect I would like to answer in place of the other answers that I have already given as to how we should look at mobility. We should definitely look at housing and creation of more work from home places as near to our workplaces residential places as possible.
And thank you very much. That was, I think, a super answer, and I'm glad you got a chance to bring in that housing question on top of the messages you left earlier on. Thank you, indeed. We've now hit, I think, dinner time. Forgive us that we've taken so much extra of your time. I always hate to come between dinner. People's appetites are probably getting quite hot, and we all want to go and take that refreshment. May I wrap up very quickly by saying a huge thank you to all our panelists for your time, for your insights, for the clear messages which you've given. I want to also thank all our invited audience who have sat and listened to the web conference. I hope we've all obtained some valuable extra information and can apply that in some new ways that will help us try to form the consensus that we're going to need in order to move forward from here. I want to promise to the panelists, to any members of our audience, that we in the British High Commission want to stay engaged on this subject. We will continue to try and facilitate conversations like this, but equally, I would love to think that I could talk to each of the panelists again, hopefully one day soon, face to face as much as virtually, and we could have that continuation of our dialogue, because I'm sure there's more that we can do from the British government perspective to try and facilitate the movement. And I look to all of us, I think, to apply our knowledge, our expertise, where the UK can be helpful. That would be great. I would be delighted to come and see Mr. Haider and his team. I hope we can do so at some convenient moment post-COVID, and think a little bit about how we can collaborate more closely with the World Resources Institute and some of the many things that you're doing across India. I know we're engaged in Delhi, but I know that Gujarat is equally interested, so it would be great to try and follow up there. We will obviously work with Paris again and the Centre for Green Mobility. I look forward to my next visit to IIT Canada, and I'll make a particular point of coming to see you, Professor, because there's so many good areas there. And Bahamo and indeed Abhishek also, who has done so much good work on the technology side. I think there are great conversations that we want to try and have together, and indeed to involve others to try and make sure we can take advantage of the great work that you're doing. Let me just say thank you. We have barely started a conversation today, but I hope that we can continue it in the future as we build up to COP26 and indeed some of the other key conversations that take place at the national level. We want to make sure that the work we do together makes a real difference, not just for our local communities and in Gujarat, but it can be an example of what we can share with the rest of the world. Thank you for your time, everyone. Please go and enjoy dinner. I'm very grateful to you all.
Thank you very much. Take care of that.